And again, thank you for showing up for yourselves and to honor our mothers. I'm going to actually say a prayer. I forgot to do that, but I'll just pray and then I'll lead the prayer into the meditation. I did bring the uncle that I was talking about that passed, that was, that I grieved a lot. He gave me this eagle feather, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's hard to see, right? It probably just looks like a white blob, but I've always sort of seen this goddess in there, that this like really mighty, beautiful sort of angel. So I thought I'd use this to pray with today. Okay, so Holy Mother, Goddess, Creator, thank you so much for our lives. Thank you for the beauty that you put before us each and every day. We're here today because we're thinking about our mothers and giving space to our gratitude for the life that they gave us, the teachings, the lessons, and whether they've passed on or they're still on this earth. We're asking you to bless all mothers, really. Bless ourselves from our heads to our toes, so that that we're able to grieve in the ways that are necessary. Allow us to hold on to the good memories, to honor the ones that have gone before us in a good way, feeding them with our tears, feeding them, sharing our food, making offerings that way, feeling them sometimes in the wind, hearing them in the bird song. There's so many women right now that do not have enough to provide for their families. And I can't imagine the feeling of that hardship, of not being able to feed your own children. Really praying that in this crisis, that each and every human on this planet that is a part of this shift, that we can look inside of our hearts and our minds and our souls and find the strength to do better. Help us, guide us, help us figure out how to take the bounty and the abundance of this planet and share it, so that the mothers on this planet do not have to see their children crying because they're hungry. Thank you also, Creator, for the men, the strong men, the good men that have strong hearts and are good caretakers and good examples to our children. The ones that are allowed, that have learned how to be vulnerable and learned how to show that they can have emotions and love openly. Bless all men as well. All of us need healing, women and men. We're all under this culture of do and action and control, and it's not working. It's not working for this planet. The planet is suffering because of it. So please, we're asking that find a way into our hearts and into our minds, so that we can be proactive and innovative to find new ways to live into this world, so that it can last for our children. Oh, okay. So you can start to get comfortable, and you can focus your breath, thinking about the inhalation and the exhalation of your breathing. When you inhale, try to fill up your belly all the way, as much as you possibly can. And then as you exhale, just allow all of the air, all of the stress, the weight, the burden to come out. Inhaling into the heart, inhaling into the spirit. Exhaling, relaxing deeply, And then you can imagine almost like a taproot coming out of the base of the spine, going down into Mother Gaia, into the earth, connecting you to the mother of us all, pulling up through that taproot her nurturing energy, her healing energy, so that you know that you're protected and that you're safe. Relaxing more deeply into the meditation, thinking about a lake that you may have been to, or maybe just creating one in your imagination. And this lake is perfectly still. So we're going to use that image to find the stillness of our own spirit so that our minds, our bodies, and our hearts can be into this present moment, into the stillness. So the only thing that's happening now is that we're breathing and that we're tapped into Mother Earth. You can leave everything else behind for now. Just focusing again on the breath, going a little bit deeper. And then I invite you to become aware of the fact that you are a child of a continuous lifeline, and that you are a product of thousands and thousands of years. And each one of the generations before you loved you and still loves you and has dreamed you into being. And in our meditation tonight, whether we have children of our own, maybe we have some nieces and nephews, or maybe we just have children that whose lives that we can be a part of. We can also dream them into being. We can dream the world that we want us to live in our meditation. Maybe just taking a moment to feel what that feels like. What is the world that you want for your children and the children in your life to really live in? And we can go back in time through the generations and find the elders there that at one time lived in tandem with the cycles. They looked to the earth and they saw her bounty, and they saw that she gave them shelter and food and clothing and all of their needs. And so they gave ritual and ceremony and gratitude to the Mother Earth. And maybe it's time to consider to bring those things back into our teachings for children so that the generations can continue. Perhaps even imagining a red cord from the umbilicus, from your belly button, going back in time, connecting you to each of these generations. So starting with your mother, who in her spirit form stands behind you at your right shoulder, always. She is always there. Even though her soul is so magnificent, she can travel, she can be in her image of heaven, and she can be resting in peace. But as your mother, she is always connected to you and she always stands behind you, no matter what form, whether she's passed on or not. A mother's love is forever. And then behind her shoulder is her mother standing behind her. And then her mother behind her, and all of the mothers, generation after generation after generation, loving their children the best way that they knew how. we can take a moment to, in our meditation, really find some forgiveness for the times for ourselves as a child when we didn't feel heard, when we didn't feel honored, when we didn't feel seen. And what I was talking about, the way that we're all living now, it's understandable that sometimes our mothers lost patience, that sometimes we as mothers lose patience. And so we can find forgiveness for that through the generations, through that cord going back in time for each generation. Maybe even imagining ourselves. We can call in the wild matriarchs, the animal kingdom, the whales, the gorillas, the lions, because as I was saying, maybe in civilizations there was worship of the goddess and then we became a patriarchy. But if we look to the animal kingdom, there are matriarchs. Think about the lioness. And we can call in those allies, the wild matriarchs, and we see that sometimes they give tough love to their offspring, sometimes a nip or a swat. And that's always done for protection. That's always done from a place of, hey, wake up, be aware, watch where you're going. So we can look to them and understand that a mother's love can sometimes feel harsh, but it's always coming from a place of knowing and wanting the best for our children. And then from there, we can ask either the whale or the gorilla, lioness, one of the wild matriarchs, even maybe a mastodon, elephant, woolly mammoth, to allow us to ally ourselves to them and climb upon their back. You can choose what animal. And that animal is going to guide us and journey with us back into the void, back before the time that we were born. So even before our mothers were here and our grandmothers, maybe even our great grandmothers, perhaps we can consider that we're not really sure, but maybe we were somewhere. Maybe our soul is eternal and maybe we were in a state of peace and bliss, but for some reason, we had a yearning and a longing to come back to this planet to experience life through our senses. Because in our spirit form, we don't, we can't hear and see and smell and taste in the same way. And so, with our animal ally standing beside us, you can take a moment to just to feel yourself into that space of endless possibility and that wanting to be here, that wanting to be born. And for whatever reason, we found our mothers. We found the perfect one, and she was the perfect one because she was ours. Even the ones of us, even our sisters that have sometimes volatile relationships with their mothers, we still wouldn't be who we are without them. And we all have wounds and traumas to heal around that. And the ones of us that have had mothers that were more like sisters, we're just really blessed and lucky to have that. But no matter what, our mother was the one that we chose for a reason, for whatever lessons we had to learn from her. So you can take your ally with you now and travel a little bit further. And we're going to go into the garden of healing. And in this garden, there's each and every goddess that whose name you may or may not even know, and beautiful flowers and the most beautiful fragrances that you can even imagine. And some of the goddesses there you may or may not resonate with. There's Kali, the goddess of destruction, with her necklace of um, skulls, and she's the destroyer, and she's Gaia in her form of, hurricanes and tornadoes and power and storms that just in an instant can purify the land through its strength. And there are those types of mothers as well. And then there's Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion. And she relates to Mother Earth in the way that our mother Gaia takes all of our bodies back into her womb. And that's the same kind of compassion and love that Kuan Yin has for us. There's Selu, the goddess of corn. You might want to go in your meditation into the garden of healing and just spend a moment with the corn goddess, and she's all about nourishment. She nourishes us through her beauty and um, through her substance, feeding us golden, the closest that we can get to taking a bite of the sun is through the goddess, the corn goddess. There's so many different ones. And so in the garden of healing, you can take a moment to walk around and kind of find the goddess that you also want to be your ally. Perhaps Isis is there, and um, these different goddesses, or maybe it's some goddess that's unknown or unnamed that's just your protector. So you can take a moment to be with her. And now you have the mother on your right side, and their mothers, your mother, grandmother, great grandmother, and all the mothers before you, all standing beside you, all are standing behind you rather. You have your wild matriarch, and you have your goddess. And these allies all love you, and they all want to help us, help us find a way to live in reciprocity with Mother Earth. How we do that is by living our life in more gratitude. And so you can just take a moment to feel the healing and the love of your mothers and the goddess and the wild matriarch surrounding you. And then your goddess is going to take out sort of this healing light, a ball of healing light. She's holding it in her palm, and it's this really gentle, beautiful healing light in her palm. And you can just feel its energy just looking at it. And she blows it into your heart. This healing ball of light, she blows it into your heart. And you can feel it like awakening your spirit and your senses, and you can feel how it wants to live in your heart. It wants you to live through your heart, this ball of light that's been gifted to you directly from the goddess. And so you can take a moment to feel that light pulsating with each heartbeat, growing, shining out of your heart, working its healing through your body. going down into each and every single cell, awakening the cells, clearing any blockages, clearing any ideas that aren't really serving you, especially the ones about self-doubt, especially the ones about ourselves that are unkind. Maybe those wounds, maybe those thoughts are from past traumas or things that happened to us that we made up stories about ourselves. And the goddess, the gift of the goddess, the ball of light, is reminding us that those are just stories that we created and they're not true. Any kind of anything that is less than love for our own selves is not going to serve us. And so this light cannot resonate with us. It's allowing those ideas to leave our bodies because they don't serve us. They're not helpful in any way. What is helpful is to remember the love that we have from our mothers and the mothers before them, the love from the animals and the love from the goddess. And so there's a few questions that you can ask yourselves with the support of your allies. And maybe the answer might not come right away, but whenever we pose a question, especially to our helpers and to our higher self, the answer will come. We just have to be patient. And so one of the questions is, what wisdom do you carry from your ancestors who dreamt you into being? What is your particular wisdom and your gift that you have to help heal yourself and each other and the planet? We all have one. So you can just take a moment to allow that question to kind of meet with the ethers. And then we're going to kind of take a moment to go even a little bit deeper into the subconscious, allowing Grandmother Bear to show up. Again, another teacher for us. She is all about sweetness and honey and protecting her cubs. But when she feels that her cubs are threatened, she's fierce. And so, whatever that wisdom is that was given to us by our ancestors who dreamt us into being, whether we know yet what that is or not, once that comes to us, we can think of ourselves like that grandmother bear, and we are going to protect our lineage. We're going to protect the knowledge that has been passed down from our mothers. The one that is now living in our hearts is light. And so taking a moment to just feel into the medicine and the wisdom of Grandmother Bear. And then we're going to take another moment to call in the whale again, allowing ourselves to climb upon the whale like the whale rider, swimming in the ocean, really feeling the wisdom and the ancient being that the ocean is. The whale is connecting to you on such a deep level that it's singing. It starts to sing. And the song that the whale is singing is more medicine for your heart. And it's connecting to that light. And you feel when the whale sings that light grows brighter and brighter and brighter. And it allows you to hear again, your own song that is meant to be sung, your own wisdom that we still may be waiting for. We're all on different steps, we're all on different paths and different parts of our own paths. And maybe we're just going to step upon the answer to that question. What is our soul song? What is the medicine that we were meant to bring to the world? Or maybe we already know and we have known for a long time, but maybe because the culture that we're living into, we've been too afraid and we've allowed fear, which is such a teacher. If we're afraid of something, we're really close to awakening. If we're scared, then it's probably the thing, it's probably the song or the medicine that we're meant to share. If it's bringing up fear because it's comfortable to stay on the path that we're in. Sometimes to grow and to expand, we have to, walk through some briars and face a little bit of our fears. So calling in again the protection of the earth mother and the animals that are our allies, and maybe even some plant medicines that are also our allies that are all blooming right now. We're going to ask all of our helpers, the angels, our loved ones, our ancestors, to be with us right now. And with their protection, we're going to ask that we can go into some of the wounds that we have felt in our lifetime. So we can travel into our grief, that we can, in our meditation, in our prayers, see ourselves as that weeping woman so that we can heal the traumas of our lineage. We can be the medicine keepers and the healers. And that weeping woman that is in each and every one of us is so powerful, because just like fear, on the other side of grief is joy. Just like on the other side of the light side of the moon is darkness. Life is about balance. And so sometimes we're again afraid to go into the grief because we're scared that we may get stuck there. But we can't get stuck there. We can only go through it. And so, as that weeping woman, you can start to see the tears from her eyes pooling at the bottom of her feet, creating a golden pool, crystal pool. And the tears become little like diamonds. And so you can pick up a few of those in your hand and you can place them into your heart. More medicine. They can reside there in your heart because those wounds and the pains that we've experienced, the ones that our ancestors have experienced, we have all suffered. Whether we're from a lineage of our ancestors were perpetrators or whether they were perpetrated, almost every single culture has a history. And so the tears are representations of those wounds. And allowing ourselves to grieve them, we can use that as our medicine because that's our experience and that's our teachings, the suffering that we've had to go through. And so those little diamonds can now be a part of you as well. But also what the weeping woman does is she allows the weight of the world to be transformed through her tears. The weight of the pain is released through the tears, and eventually it's replaced with lightness And the lightness happens and it allows us to be proactive, because when we're carrying all that weight, we can't help pick one another up. We have to go through the grief to let it go so that we can then reach out to somebody else that's gone, is grieving, and lend them a hand. If we are carrying so much of our own weight around, then we can't help one another. But it's fair, and important to give ourselves the space to, when it's our turn, carry our own weight and allow ourselves to grieve. But once we've had the space that's necessary for that, and each of us have, the time sometimes is different for each and every one. So each and every one of us deserves whatever space and time it takes necessary to grieve our loved ones, to honor them with our tears, to remember them. And then once we've given ourselves that space, then we can look to others and see that, some of our other sisters and brothers are going through that same pain that we just went through. And so when we start reaching out to them, it takes away, it makes our hearts a little bit lighter, because we're then able to help somebody else through our own experience. So just allowing that weeping woman to maybe cry her last tears for now. More pain might come, more tragedy may or may not come, but for a moment, allow her to be healed. Just carrying the diamonds, its representations. So now we have the light from the goddess. We have the red string that's still attached from our belly buttons to our mother, grandmothers, great 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 grandmothers. We have the wild matriarch. We have grandmother bear showing us how to be strong and loving at the same time. And so we have another question to pose to the universe and to our higher self. um, how can we live, how can we create this new paradigm where men and women are equal? How can we explore and find the teachings that are going to help us? What are our own blockages? Help us see them, Creator. Help us see them. Our allies, help us see them so that we can put them down, so that we can create this new world for our children and the ones coming up behind us, the little sprouts, the little precious seedlings. So sacred, so holy. We really want to know. We want to know. Maybe our mothers, can tell us, maybe any one of our allies, to help us find a way to open up ourselves to living again in harmony and balance with Mother Nature. Maybe maybe how we talk to ourselves and to each other. Maybe there's some room for improvement there. Maybe these answers can be really simple. We're asking our allies and the Creator to give us presence of mind to remember when necessary, to remember ourselves right now, to remember who we are all the way back into that void, and what that call was that brought us to this earth. We're asking to remember putting ourselves back together. There's a prophecy, a Tibetan prophecy, that when 1,000 goddesses gather, that the divine feminine will raise itself back on earth. And that's happened. There have been many different celebrations or pilgrimages or events, even where it's all women gathering together. And it's so powerful because when we can come together, birth givers, life givers, that power is so strong for one of us. So imagine when two, three, four, hundreds of sisters come together, babes right out, whatever it is, there's so much power to be had in that. And so maybe that's another way that we can find our way back into balance. Create small circles of womanhood. And again, men are so important and so loved. And some of us have sons, and it's hard for them right now too, because they're wounded as well. And it's hard to know how to be a man and be gentle and have this kind of fiery energy, and just they don't have so many role models, and so it's confusing. So it's either like superheroes, and we're, none of us are real superheroes. It's not practical to only have an example of a superhero, because we all have our weaknesses and we're all human. And so maybe one of the answers that our ancestors have for us too is how to help heal that wound, the mother wound in men. There's so many possibilities for each and every one of us to find a way to work for ourselves or other people to heal that wound. So I want to say thank you to the men in our lives as well, even though it's Mother's Day, but our fathers too, and maybe have that forgiveness for the pain that happened in the relationships of our parents, because it happens to everybody. um, Maybe just starting there. And when we can find forgiveness for our fathers and for our mothers, even sometimes, with help with therapy and all the things that we need to go into these places, but sometimes even for our perpetrators, it can be very healing. That's the weight too that we can put down. It doesn't mean that we still get to carry the diamonds from the tears in our heart. We still get to carry our own scars, and you know the surviving of the battles that we've had to fight in our life. But when we can really actually find forgiveness, then again it creates more space for us to help other people. So just taking a moment to, you know we can all ask for forgiveness for all of the anger and the sadness and things that were caused unnecessarily in our lifetimes and in our mother's lifetime and beyond. And then going forward, creating space and intention to start to trust that light in your heart. Trust your intuition. The wild matriarch follows her intuition. It is put there. We cannot take nature out of our bodies. We cannot take the river out of the earth. That is the blood of the earth. We can't take the earth itself. We have to have the earth to walk on, and we can't remove the sun out of the sky. All of those things are in our bodies. That fire in our heart and the blood flowing, and that's the rivers and our souls, the air, the divine breath of God. It's all flowing in our bodies right now. So we cannot remove that wildness out of ourselves. It is who we are. So we are a part of Mother Earth. And so when we can start seeing each other and recognizing how beautiful that is, and stop judging, ourselves and each other. And it's really going to take um, it's going to take women coming together and not shaming one another to really really heal this planet. And so maybe that's another small intention that we can create for ourselves to discover our own wisdom. So without acknowledging the Mother Earth as our mother of all of us, the mother of the mothers that we love, the mother of our grandmothers that we love, and our great grandmothers, the mother of all of those women that stand behind you is the Mother Earth. And until we can start living in reciprocity again and seeing her sacredness in front of us every day in our food, in the bird songs and the flowers, then we can't really heal this planet. So, taking one last moment again to see yourself, feel that taproot that's still connected down into the core of the earth. Feel it vibing with her and pulsating and connecting you to that power of Mother Gaia, sending our love and our gratitude down through that taproot. And that's what reciprocity is. We can send the gratitude down and then feel her. It's all she's asking for. All she's asking for is just to be seen, and to feel that we see her and that we're grateful for her. That's all she wants. And in return, she's willing to give us life and beauty and shelter and food, and so that's the idea of reciprocity. Not taking the earth for granted. But each and every one of us are daughters of the earth, and so it's also not taking one another for granted. And so we can just take some time again to just feel that taproot beating, pulsating. And then, like the diamonds and the light that was blown into your heart, at some point, we have to cut the umbilical cord a little bit. It doesn't mean that that energy and that love isn't surrounding us at all times, but we have to pull up that taproot and cut the umbilical cord and become that mother ourself. I'm talking metaphorically, so it's okay if you don't have children, but becoming um, that symbol of mother, of nurturer, of caretaker. And those wild matriarchs, those animals, they leave their babies behind and they go and forage and they find food a lot of times. The ones that can't take their babies with them. They will hide their babies, and they'll go and they'll do what they have to do to survive. And so pulling all of those medicines into ourselves, all of that power, all of that love and compassion, we're going to just take another moment to just feel into that and feel ourselves now becoming the mother, becoming, you can even imagine naming yourself. Like if we were able, we love our names, and our names mean so much to us, but just another, like a piece of medicine, that if we had a spiritual name given to us that we get to choose. Maybe it's a name of one of the goddesses that you like. And we can feel the power of that name, the one that we choose for ourselves. And we can see ourselves as that representation of the name. The names of the goddesses Isis and Kali and Gaia, Kuan Yin, um, Hestia, Demeter, Persephone. They're beautiful names, and they hold a lot of meaning. And so we can shroud ourselves in a name that reminds us that we are the mother as well. Meaning we are the holders of life and the nurturers and the caretakers. And so before we end this meditation, feeling yourself as this new name, feeling yourself as mother. Just take one last moment to really give yourself permission to love yourself as you are now. Give yourselves permission to forgive. Give yourselves permission to feel into the gratitude for your own mother and the life that she gave you, and her mother before her, and her mother before her, and on through the generations. And then taking one last moment to grow out of that love and see yourself how our ancestors dreamt us into being. If we can just take a moment to imagine our children growing up in a more balanced society of love of and respect, where women are respected, where this dark, horrible underbelly of humanity does not exist. We can dream our grandchildren and our great grandchildren and our great great grandchildren of, just like the children that we have in our lives, and envision their future without the disrespect, with living in tandem to the cycles, with connection to the food that we grow as medicine. Just taking a moment to really feel that future for them. And then you can begin to slowly come back into your body, deepening your inhalation and exhalation of your breathing, feeling into your hearts again. Taking a moment, you can put your thumb to your pointer finger, your second finger, all the fingertips, pressing them in. And then maybe if you're lying down, if you want to hug in your knees, or if you're sitting down, just kind of slowly rotating your wrists or ankles. And then having an intention to sort of seal in the questions that we had in our meditation, that the answers are going to come up and we're going to be ready to hear them when the time comes. And then if you are lying down, you can come back up to seated. And then I just want to honor you both so much. I really, there's like 3 other women that didn't show up, which is totally fine. I get a lot out of doing these meditations because um, this, like when I can create this space for other people, I really create it for myself too, and I get some healing benefits out of it as well. But I really love you, and I honor you, and I really appreciate you showing up, and I hope that maybe our moms can come, and our dreams are some of the ones that have gone before us will, they will have heard this sort of invitation to be with us. I really do feel like, um, you know, our mothers never leave us. And, um, Willow, I imagine for you, it's going to take some time. You've given your last several years to help take care of your mom. I mean, you mothered your own mom, really. And that's a really noble, beautiful gift and thing that you did. You know, really respect that. And it's actually the one of the things that when I think about the new world that I want to live in, I want to see that again, like traditionally like the elders help take care of the young people, and then we get a little bit older, then we would take care of our elders because it's a cycle. And it feels like in our culture that we just kind of tuck the elders away and shut the door, and that's sad. And this virus it's hitting nursing homes. Those are the ones that we're losing the most. And um, I can only hope that the loss of life, that people, sometimes it has to take like hitting rock bottom before people are like, oh, like I have to wake up a little bit, and I'm a human being living on this planet right now, and I've been asleep, and it's not okay for us to like just tuck our elders away like that, and we're losing them. And so maybe the bright side will be that the young people will see like maybe there's a better way for them to live in their elder years, like more active, where the nurse, even if it's nursing homes, like maybe people can create ways where they're more involved. There are people, this is happening, like where um, younger people are going to nursing homes and spending time with their elders, and I think people realize it's important. But anyway, off on a tangent. But thank you, ladies. I'm gonna go ahead and end the meeting. But I love you and happy Mother's Day. And
Thank you, Sherry.
welcome. Have sweet dreams.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.